Welcome to the Dodgers Dogs. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. I'm joined as I am each and every show by Chase Witwiska. Chase, welcome in. Exciting show today. A lot to get to. The top 10 prospects as per Baseball Prospectus. So an exciting show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to get after it.
Okay, so we've got lots of video. We've got video on all 10 guys. We're going to go over the top 10 today, and we have video on all of them. We're going to talk over the video and talk all about these top 10 guys. But first of all, let's go over some of the big names that were left off of the top 10 list. Of course, top 10 lists they're all for fun, and that's why we're doing this for fun. They're for fans, and it's enjoyable. But some of the big names that are left off, Johnny DeLuca, who was just put on the 40-man and protected so he would not be drafted in the Rule 5 draft. So Johnny DeLuca not in the top 10. Jacob Amaya, who might be the starting shortstop for the Dodgers this year. Ryan Pepiot, who at some point might be your number 4 or number 5 starter this year. Michael Grove, who got Major League action last year, who promises to have at least some kind of role on the Major League team this year. Carson Taylor, who is just a tremendous switch-hitting catcher. He was with Tulsa last year, had an injury-ridden season. Mark Washington, who is one of the best relievers, 6'7" out of Lehigh in all of minor league baseball. He went several stretches and at the end of 2021, early 2022, when he did not give up any runs. Hurt, when you talk about him, Kyle Hurt out of USC, very similar to Nick Nastrini, who's in the top 10. He threw a 91-mile-an-hour slider earlier this year. Landon Knack, who's been one of the better top pitching prospects in the Dodgers organization for a couple of years. Cole Percival, young man, was hitting 99 with a fastball, 6'7", and is the son of Troy Percival, the all-time saves leader from the Los Angeles Angels. Emmett Sheehan from Boston College. This dude really turned it on, had a big Arizona Fall League. He's hitting 99 with his fastball. Big old tall dude. Great extension. Ryan Ward, who's a fantastic left-handed hitter, hit 400 at Bryant. Only Bryant Bulldog to do that. Ben Harris, who I believe had the highest strikeout per innings rate of anybody in the minor leagues last year. Fantastic lefty out of Georgia. Carlos Duran, who's just going under Tommy John surgery. Ronan Kopp, who just threw he calls them velo donuts. He's throwing velo donuts this year, got moved up to High A Great Lakes. River Ryan, who really turned it on, big-time prospect. Ryan Sublette out of Texas Tech, underrated. Absolutely, that three-quarter slot guy with the slider. I call it the Sublette slider. Fantastic. Yorbit Vivas, Eddie's Leonard, both protected on the 40-man. Neither one of them on the top 10 list here from Baseball Prospectus. Damon Keith, who for stretches during this year was the best hitter in all of minor leagues baseball. He got moved up to Great Lakes towards the end of the year. And Yainer Fernandez, who is a top 20 catcher in the Dodgers system. He's a smaller guy, 5'7", so he can play multiple positions. But first and foremost, Chase, what are your initial thoughts on the top 10 list from Baseball Prospectus?
A lot of them aren't surprising, and some of the names that you mentioned they could be on anybody else's top 10, and I truly believe that. I mean, because especially Pepiot is kind of the one that threw me off. I thought he would be up there, but
DeLuca. DeLuca's unbelievable, 5'2" guy out of Oregon.
Yeah, and then you have Amaya that's not on there either. So it's.
I think age probably had something to do with that. We'll see, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I say this almost every show. It's a good problem to have, and that's a. You have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent, in the minors and things like that. So the future's bright, that's for sure.
Okay, so let me throw this lineup out at you. Let's say that you have Carson Taylor catching, and/or Diego Cartaya, and/or Dalton Rushing catching, and then your rotation is Bobby Miller, Gavin Stone, Ryan Pepiot, Michael Grove, and then you have Mark Washington and guys like that in the bullpen. Jacob Amaya at shortstop, Michael Busch at second, Miguel Vargas at third base, and Drew Avens in center field. Okay, does that team make the playoffs? Do they have a chance to make the playoffs? If you say that they're a regular major league team, would that roster make the playoffs at the major league level?
That it sounds like you just named a minor league all-star team.
Yeah.
So I would say that they have a pretty good shot.
Yeah, add a Landon Knack, and then Andy Pages, add him into that lineup, and then Johnny DeLuca. that team right there, I'm just telling you, if you combine Tulsa, if you put Diego Cartaya with, an all-star team from Tulsa and Oklahoma City, I laugh all the time, but I'm serious as a heart attack. I think that team would make the playoffs at the major league level. It is absolutely that talented. So, we're talking about the prospects. But, hey, all right, the top 10 prospects that just came out from Baseball Prospectus. James Outman, who came in at number 10. Andy Pages, I'm going from 10 back to 1. Andy Pages, Nick Frasso, Michael Busch, Dalton Rushing, Nick Nastrini, Gavin Stone, Miguel Vargas, your man, Bobby Miller, and Diego Cartaya. So thoughts on the young men and the young prospects that did make the top 10 list?
Again, it's not – seeing all these names isn't surprising. And I think a lot of these if not all of them, have a chance to really make an impact, maybe in Oklahoma City, and maybe even with the big club in LA. James Outman, Michael Busch, and
Miguel Vargas, Bobby
Vargas,
Miller.
Thank you. I was blinking. Those 3 or 4 guys are, potentially going to be starters. So there's a lot of, I keep saying it, there's a lot of young talent. And I'm hoping to see Bobby Miller make a couple appearances myself.
You and I may have to run out to spring training for a couple days.
Yeah, well,
on the Dodgers Daily Bill. You won't have time. Well, you'll be in Arizona anyways with Stillwater, won't you?
We'll be in Alabama.
Alabama. Okay, Alabama. Whereabouts in Alabama are you going this year?
We are going to. It's one of the beaches.
Who knows?
One of the beaches. I know that.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good time.
Okay, let's do what we do. We're going to break down video. We're going to start with James Outman. I've got lots of video on each guy. We're going to go in order, start with James Outman, work our way all the way up to Diego Cartaya. So you ready to watch film, break down film these guys?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start at number 10, and one of my favorite players that I've gotten a chance to see ever in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, James Outman, just a wonderful baseball player. Might have been the best player in all the minor leagues last year. Outman came out from Sac State, 6'3", 215. He went to Sarah High School, where he is a middle linebacker, and you can tell he's a middle linebacker by the way he plays center field when he goes back up against the wall. 294 average last year, OPS 978, 106 RBIs, 31 home runs, 31 doubles, 2 cycles, 2 grand slams, and he plays plus defense. He has a plus arm. He's one of the better athletes in the entire system. The only thing about him, if he does not become an everyday major leaguer, would be the swing and miss. He dropped his strikeout rate down to 25% last year, which is his lowest since its first year in pro ball in 2018. As you can see from there, if he's not going to make it an everyday lineup, it's going to be because of this swing and miss. So tell us what you think about James Outman.
Man, I really, really like his swing. I think offensively, he's an absolute tear, like you said, when he doesn't swing and miss. If you look at him and you mentioned how he plays, it's cool to see the difference between guys that are baseball only players and guys that have played multiple sports. He's an athlete. He's not
the
just
aggressiveness. Yeah.
And I think that makes a world of difference. That's why I always encourage, even my high school guys to play as many sports as they can. Because it helps you become a well-rounded athlete, and he's a prime example of that.
Yeah, this is one of the cycles you see here. And again, pound for pound, one of the best athletes in the entire system. So James Outman, this is one of his cycles. He hit 2 cycles this year, and they were both less than a week apart from each other, and 2 grand slams. So look at that swing right there. Is that swing flat enough for you?
I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of scouting reports will tell you that he has lift to his swing, which creates the swing and miss. Do you see too much lift there?
I see a little bit. If you look at his bat angle, there is a slight lift to his swing, but I think that over time it's gotten a little bit flatter.
It definitely has, yes.
From the time that he began, when he started, it looked like the only thing he was trying to accomplish was launch angle, and it looks like he's really bought into, knowing that base hits are okay. You don't need a home run every time you go up to bat, but he's more than capable of giving you that. Just because of how big and strong and athletic he is. I think he's a really, really good player.
Yeah. And here's Andy Pages. We're going to move on from James Outman. Look at that arm from Andy Pages. But to finish up on Outman, just a wonderful player, probably going to play a big role. Here's Andy Pages, 22 years old, 6'1", 212. He signed in 2017. In 2021, he led all the Dodgers minor leagues in home runs with 31. He had 31 doubles. Last year he hit 236, a little bit of a down year, but if you evaluate what he has, that big arm and big power potential, and he is rated by most scouting services as being an everyday outfielder at the major league level. Tell us what you see here, Chase. Here's another look at his arm.
I think what you get with him is just another good athlete. He has that big, strong arm. And one of those first couple of highlights that we just saw, he went down and got a down and out pitch and hit it out of the park to the left or to the pull side.
And that was not a mistake. Yeah, I mean, he's good at that. Yeah.
Which that's extremely impressive. I mean, it's hard enough to, get your bat out there and, if you hit it the opposite way, you may be lucky to get a gap shot or maybe even get one off the wall. But he sent it over the wall, essentially, sticking his butt out and and just making contact with it. So if that doesn't tell you how strong he is, man, I don't know. But I think that he's definitely an interesting prospect simply because of how strong and how athletic he is. There's
another one of those on the outer half that he just ties into left center. That's some serious plate coverage, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's definitely going to help him when he gets up to that big league level. Is sometimes pitch selection's tough, and if he does make a mistake, he still has a chance to hit the ball.
And then he outs that inside pitch. We talk about him having that extension and plate coverage on the outside pitch. So what happens if you get jammed? You just saw it right there. He was able to tie that thing into right field. So there's Andy Pages. Let's move on to Nick Frasso, 24 years old, 6'5", 200 pounds, out of Loyola Marymount. He really came on strong, came over in the trade that sent Mitch White, Alex DeJesus to the Blue Jays, 1.83 ERA. His whip was 0.93. His fastball, as you'll see if you look at the miles per hour on these, his fastball hit 97. He has a changeup and a slider at 87. So 10 miles an hour apart and hitting the upper 90s, Nick Frasso. And look at that long and lanky. I know you love those long and lanky guys. Lots of great extension, so that 97 looks even faster than that.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're looking at right now at how far he's getting down the mound, he's cutting down so much distance. And by the time he's releasing the ball, I mean, he may be at 52 feet. I mean, he's taking a whole lot of space.
What does that pitch look like to you? That's 93, 94. Is that a two-seam or is that a cutter or what is that, you think? Because he's 96, 97 on his four-seam.
I would guess that was a two-seam because I think it's too fast to be a changeup. But I think it's really impressive with how he's able to maneuver, if you will. It looks a little funky, I think, because of his
that pitch right there. That pitch right there. Was that looked like a two-seam to me. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I saw the same thing actually. I think it might look a little funky because he is, he's 6'5", 6'6", and he's 200 pounds, so he's a tall, lanky guy. But I think he's another really impressive guy.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so Michael Busch, he's one of those guys that promises to have a role in some capacity at the major league level this year, and he is just an incredible hitter. 274 OPS, or his OPS was 881, I should say. Average of 274, 32 home runs, 108 RBIs. He is one of those guys that was, every night vying for the lead in home runs in the organization, certainly at the minor league level. There is him playing second base. That's the question. We think we all know that he's going to be able to hit just like that. Is he going to be able to play second base? So evaluate what you saw defensively just a minute ago.
He comes off and kind of gives me the dirtbagger vibe, if you will.
Yeah, no doubt.
kind of a guy he's just going to give you everything he's got every single pitch, and that's somebody that you want in your infield, and probably going to be eventually going to be one of your better guys and one of your top leaders. I think that he is going to bring a lot of energy, and I think he's going to bring a lot of good stuff to the table. If it's at second base or if it's in left field, I think that's what kind of sets him apart from other guys as well. Is he can play multiple positions at a high level.
Yeah, and you mentioned being gritty. We'll get to Dalton Rushing here in a second, but he was coached by Tom Holliday. You know the Holliday family very well there at OSU. Tom Holliday says he's the toughest player that he has ever coached, and that is high praise coming out of his mouth. Hey, you're looking at the rock star from 2022, Dalton Rushing. This is video of him back when he was at Louisville. He hit .404 after being drafted in July. He had 7 multi-hit games in his last 14 at Louisville that you're seeing here. He was 20 for his last 56 as a Cardinal. He went 34 for 77 in August in his first month of pro ball. So at that point, between the end of his Louisville career, beginning of his pro career, he went 54 for 133, which is a .406 average against that kind of pitching. So Dalton Rushing.
This guy can absolutely mash, as you're seeing. And if you look at him, he's built like a dadgum Mack truck. His legs are ginormous. So I think he's a big fan of the weight room. That's for sure.
Yeah, look at him.
You know, and golly, I mean, and even I think defensively, he's just as good as he is on the offensive side. But like I said, man, he can absolutely swing it. You know, not only for, I mean, not only can he hit jacks, but you know, he can hit doubles, he can hit triples. I think he moves well for his size.
Yeah, no doubt, especially for a catcher, corner, infielder type. So Dalton Rushing came on very strong. You're looking at Nick Nastrini. Got a chance to talk to him. 3.93 ERA, whip of 1.11, which is good. 169 strikeouts and 116.2 innings, which is very good. When he is throwing strikes, he is just absolutely lights out. 4-pitch pitcher. He has the fastball at 94 to 96, slider at 80 to 83, curveball at 78 to 80. Change at 85 to 86. I know you love pitching, Chase. So from what you've seen so far, tell me what you think. There's that 4-seam up in the zone at 94.
I mean, I think he has a lot of good stuff, and if you look at him, that is a big frame. Not only standing at 6'3", which I mean I think is fairly tall, but you know he's built big. You know, he looks like he looks like he could be a linebacker somewhere.
You like that changeup?
Something like that. I think. Yeah, it's a really good changeup, actually. I think that he has he definitely has the tools to be very successful as long as he can stay in the zone.
No doubt about it. You know, anytime you talk about a 4-pitch pitcher, that definitely profiles as a starter. So Nick Nastrini, boy, you talk about a great changeup. We mentioned that a minute ago, that 83-mile-an-hour changeup right there. There's an 85 from Gavin Stone. My man, Gavin Stone, 6'1", 175, 25 years old. Look at that changeup, Chase. Out of Lake City, Arkansas, went to the University of Central Arkansas. There's another changeup. It is maybe the best changeup in all of baseball in the minor leagues right now. It is that good. There is his slider. So changeup, fastball, slider. Fastball is hit 97 to 98 in August. He was hitting 97, 98 in August with his fastball. Change at 85, 87. Sinker 95, 96. And a slider. So 4 pitches.
I mean, if you're watching these highlights, you're seeing how frustrated these hitters are getting, man. And it's because he has so many things that move in different directions and change speeds, and it's hard to pick up because of how consistent he is with his body, with his arm angles, with everything.
There's 97.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of all that moving stuff, he's throwing 97 miles an hour. You saw one of those guys throw his hands up in the air because he's like, "Coach, what the crap do I do? I mean, how do I hit this guy?" And I think that
1.48 ERA, so not many people did.
No, and it's clearly showing. But I think that. I mean, that changeup is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I think that it's one of the best in the game for sure.
Yep, no doubt. Okay, so Gavin Stone, is he going to play a role in 2023? Nobody knows. I think we all do know that Bobby Miller, who you're seeing on the screen here, your man Chase, look at that changeup. 4-pitch pitcher. His fastball was hitting 101. As a matter of fact, I have a 101-mile-an-hour fastball that was on April 30th that you're going to see. There's 100 right there. Okay, 4.25 ERA, so his numbers weren't just ridiculously off the charts. But again, the big fastball, and his fastball, believe it or not, might not be the best pitch in his arsenal. Look at that changeup.
Yeah, this is my guy, man. As you mentioned, he plays with a lot of emotion. And I think that it's going to be beneficial, and I think it's going to hurt him at times. But man, the confidence that he has, and that's a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Yeah. Good luck. I can't say enough about this guy. He pumps me up, and I think that he's definitely going to be a big time dude on the mound for the Dodgers. If I mean, possibly even
101 right there, 101.
Yeah. I mean, you have that, and then you have the slider, and you have the changeup, and I don't know.
And a curveball.
Yeah. So you have that. I mean, you have that many pitches that he commands. I'd say for the most part, pretty well. He's dirty.
No doubt about it. Here is the Dodgers' number one prospect, catcher Diego Cartaya. If you look at his numbers last year, he struggled down the stretch. His numbers don't pop off the charts, but that's simply because in 2020 he didn't play. 2021 he got hurt and played in, I believe, 34 games, 36 somewhere in there. And then he was asked to play 94 games last year. Look at that power. Wow. 94 games last year, so absolutely no doubt about it. He played more games than he'd played, in basically 800 days last year. There's him throwing down. So he wore down just a touch moving down the stretch, but you're seeing him throw down here, Chase. You're seeing the athletic ability behind the plate, the big size. His comp is Salvador Perez with his big size. So tell me what you see here with Diego Cartaya.
Just another big-time athlete, man. And it seems to be a common theme in the Dodgers organization that they have these just top-notch athletes, not just top-notch baseball players, but top-notch athletes. And his swing is one of my favorite to watch just because he hits home runs, but they're good swings. He's not trying to hit the ball out of the park. If you watch his bat playing, it's pretty flat. I'm a big fan.
So there you have it. There is the Baseball Prospectus top 10 list, and we're going to kind of review what we saw there. Again, James Outman, Andy Pages, Nick Frasso, Michael Busch, Dalton Rushing. I'm going to always say Rusty Rushing because Rusty Rushing is one of the best pitchers ever to come out of the state of Oklahoma and was a great closer at Oklahoma State. So if I say Rusty Rushing, just go ahead and correct me because I'm going to do it at some point. Nick Nastrini, Gavin Stone. We did not cover Miguel Vargas because we did a big video on him in one of our previous last couple of Dodgers dogs. So if you want to see lots of video and narrative on Miguel Vargas, just go to that video. We've got plenty of it there. Bobby Miller, Diego Cartaya. Okay, so let's start back at the top. Let's give our final thoughts. James Outman, what kind of role is he going to have in 2023? What did you see with the swing? What did you see defensively?
I think there's a little lift in the swing, but defensively, I think he's really, really impressive. And I think that he's one of the best athletes in the Dodgers organization, and that's saying something because they have a lot of those. And that's one thing that I love about the organization is they don't go after good baseball players, but they go after good athletes. And I think that's going to be a huge thing, especially in his future.
Yep, Andy Pages, again, in 2021 when he hit the 31 home runs, which led all the Dodgers minor leagues in home runs in 2021 when he was with Great Lakes, he hit twice as many fly balls as he did ground balls. Okay, and at the beginning of this year in 2022, his fly ball ground ball ratio was about 50-50, and he was hitting like 210. Okay, so he started hitting more fly balls towards the end of 2022, and he kind of got back on track. And then he had a really good Arizona Fall League where he hit 296. His OPS in the Arizona Fall League was 904, 5 home runs, 98 at bats, 14 RBIs. So Andy Pages, the big arm, I definitely think he profiles as a corner outfielder. Sum up Andy Pages for us.
I think he's your typical right fielder. He's got the big arm and he's got pop. And I think that, when you mention his ground ball to fly ball ratio being 50-50 and hitting 210, ground balls, they're just not his game. So don't take him away from what he does well. That could lead to some outs. It could lead to some frustration.
People are worried about the loft in his swing because I think it's going to lead to a lot of swing and miss.
Right. I don't know. I think that he's one of the few that can master that.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to go away from what he does really, really well, which is, hit with a lot of power.
And I think he creates his loft through his posture and his upper body. I don't think he necessarily lifts his hands as much as people think. I think his posture just creates a negative bat angle, which creates that lift. So that's why I think he can be successful hitting twice as many fly balls as he does ground balls. Plus, fly balls leave the yard, right? So, okay, one guy that I know caught your attention while we were watching, Nick Frasso in that big 6'5" frame. I know you really liked how he got down the mound. That extension, that 97-mile-an-hour fastball is going to look faster than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to look like the 101 that you saw from Bobby Miller, if not even faster than that. He's cutting down so much distance with that tall, lanky, funky-looking frame. And I mean, he looks awkward, but he also looks like he knows what he's doing.
Knees and elbows. It makes it even more tough for the hitter, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you're seeing that kind of odd-looking dude on the mound, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, and I mean, he's extremely impressive.
All right, Michael Busch. I know, he's going to play some kind of role. What's it going to be, Chase? And obviously, as the very good hit tool, you saw the defense. So, kind of put Michael Busch in, and put a bow on Michael Busch for us.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's your starting second baseman day one. Mm-hmm. But I also wouldn't be surprised if you see him in Oklahoma City. Yeah. I think that he might be a guy that bounces back and forth a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I want him to get reps, whether that's in AAA or whether that's in the big leagues. I think that he needs reps and needs to continue to improve. And like I said, I'm perfectly okay with seeing him in Oklahoma City simply so I can see him play.
And Michael Busch, don't forget, you called him, I believe, a dirtbag, and that's the exact way to put it. Tom Holliday, who I know you're very familiar with, said he's the toughest guy that he has ever coached, and that's big praise from him. Of course, also in high school, he played hockey. He was his high school team's quarterback. He was an all-state quarterback, and he was an all-state shortstop, and the only reason he transitioned to first is because he went to North Carolina. North Carolina has so much talent that as a true freshman, the only spot that was open that didn't have an incumbent starter coming back was first base. So he said, hey, give me a mitt, let me go over there and let me hit. And so that's why he transitioned to first base.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, Tom Holliday doesn't come by praise or come by compliments, I mean, for anybody. And I respect the heck out of him for it. I wouldn't say he's a hard man to please, but he's a hard man to get to compliment you.
He's old school.
Yeah, so when it's coming from him, there's true meaning behind it. And then you mentioned his high school. If that doesn't tell you not only what kind of, player he is, but athlete he is, being an all-stater in two sports. I mean, and then he's got to be some kind of heck of a leader, being the starting quarterback, being the shortstop. Those are two key positions, both in football and in baseball. So I think that, that also explains kind of that dirtbag way that he plays and his mentality.
Yeah, just get the job done any way you can. Doesn't care if it looks pretty. Okay, I know a guy that caught your eye, Nick Nastrini, and it's because of the 4 pitches. And he's a guy that, although he has the explosive stuff, the fastball, the typical 4-seam that's in the mid-90s and can hit a little bit taller than that, but what struck you about him is the 4 pitches and the way he mixes them and the way he pitches.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he's found so much success. You don't have to throw 100 miles an hour to beat somebody. And I think that, honestly, I think that it's sometimes harder to hit a guy that's throwing 94, 95, 96, with a really, really good, 3 more pitches that you have to worry about. You have to worry about the changeup, the curveball, and the slider, all that have good bite, all that move really well. Yeah. And, I mean, they change – not only do they change direction, but they change speed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dalton Rushing, if I call him Rusty Rushing, just go ahead and correct me. Rusty Rushing was one of the best pitchers in the history of Oklahoma, came out of Owasso, one of the best closers Oklahoma State's ever had. So if I call him Rusty Rushing, go ahead and correct me because it's going to happen. Dalton Rushing out of Louisville hit over 400, turned into a rock star, quickly ascended, just rock solid, the physique, the frame, all of that. So talk about how impressive Dalton Rushing is.
He's your typical looking NFL linebacker. The dude's absolutely massive, and he can swing it really, really well. Not only that, but he's athletic. I mean, he moves well for his size. And if you watch his swing, not only does he have power, but he's going to be able to hurt you, with gap shots. So I think that he's going to find a lot of success, at the big league level eventually.
My man, Gavin Stone, Lake City, Arkansas. I went to the University of Central Arkansas, young man from a small town, but had a huge vision. His last outing in 2020, a lot of people are like, well, hey, is this guy a one-year wonder? No, he was not, okay? His last outing at UCA was a no-hitter. He got drafted in the 5th round of the 2020 draft, so anybody who gets drafted in the 5th round, obviously very talented. has hit 98 with the fastball and has a changeup that might be the best changeup in the entire minor leagues, if not all of baseball right now. He is that good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough about his changeup, and his numbers speak for themselves. He's not. You're not a one-hit wonder when you have a 1.48 ERA in 121 innings. There's no shot. I mean, that, like I said, it's hard to even do in high school. So when you're doing it against professional baseball players, that says a lot. You're going to see him in LA. That's for sure.
Okay, got about 2 minutes left. Saved him for Bobby Miller. Your man hit a 101 you saw in the video, and Diego Cartaya. Put a bow on it.
Man, Bobby Miller, I can't say enough about that guy either. I think that he's so fun to watch, and
Four pitches.
He wants to be great, that's where that emotion comes from, and that's why I like him so much. He wants to be the best version of himself that he can be on the mound, and he wants to help his team in any way that he can, anytime that he steps foot on the mound. And I truly think that when you watch him and his mentality, he thinks that he's the best against no matter who he faces, and I think that's why he finds so much success. Not only because he throws 101 miles an hour with a nasty slider. But also his mentality speaks for itself. And then going on to Diego Cartaya, he's a young guy. He's 21 years old. Numbers weren't super impressive. Just the durability at the catcher position.
It's tough.
While showing, signs of being injury prone already, concerns me a little bit, and I wonder what that will do in his future.
Maybe some first base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the catchers in the system, going to Carson Taylor and Yainer Fernandez, Ryan January, Dalton Rushing, and all those guys. But hey, we have run out of time. It has gone way too fast again. So Chase, thanks for joining. And again, we'll hook up again for our next Dodgers Dogs show down the line. But hey, to everybody who tuned in, we want to thank you for tuning in and say go Dodgers.